With the season right around the corner, it's time to make our picks for each conference. And joining me to do that, I have Tom Dianora and Nick Tully. Tom has been on the show before. He is a former Shakin' the Southland writer, and of course, he is the guitarist who composed the outro, which you'll hear at the end of this video and the end of all of my videos. Then, of course, we have Nick Tully. Tully leads the Clemson podcast, which if you're not already subscribed to on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you listen to podcasts on, can't recommend it highly enough. Him and Jared and the crew do a great job, so definitely check them out for your podcast needs. Guys, welcome.
Nice. Good to be here.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to be on.
Yeah. All right. So instead of just picking our picks for each conference, which is probably going to end up being all favorites, we're taking this a different route. We're going to draft our conference champion picks, and we'll have bragging rights, or one of us will have bragging rights at the end of the year. So here's how it's going to go. Tom's going to have the first pick, off the second pick. Nick Tully is going to have the third pick, and we're going to snake it back and forth. We get 5 picks, 1 pick for each Power 5 conference. You can't double stack and take Florida State and Clemson or Michigan and Ohio State. So you got 1 pick per conference. And at the end of the year, we'll go back and look and see who got the most conference champions from the draft. And our tiebreaker will be teams that make the playoff if it comes down to a tiebreaker. And we'll figure out our little side bet here off video. But Tom, you've got the first pick, so I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, let's get right into it. With the first pick in the 2023 Ryan Cantor YouTube channel College Football Power 5 Conference Champions Draft, I select the Clemson Tigers.
All right.
So,
explain your pick here.
Well, this is a Clemson channel, so it feels the right way to start it off, for one. But for second, I really don't buy all the FSU hype. I think it's outrageous. I think they'll be a solid team, but people are already crowning them like they're totally back. This is the new Texas is back, in my opinion. And for me, I don't think UNC is really up to snuff either. So that really leaves Clemson for me. The other reason I'm taking them, besides maybe a little homerism as well, is that if it doesn't work out and they don't win, I'm really not going to hear trash talk from you guys because you'll both be upset.
That's true. You won't. I didn't see that pick coming, and so I'm trying to get my bearings here. So now do I take Florida State to avoid getting stuck with Louisville or UNC or Miami or whoever else in the ACC? I'm gonna stick with the team. I don't like them, but they're the bet. They are plus 100. They're even money to win their conference. I think they're the best team in the country. They're the back-to-back defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't like it, but I think they have a better chance to win their conference than any other team I could pick. I'm not playing for a tie. I'm not playing for a hedge. I'm playing to win, so I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs. Nick, it's to you.
Yeah, I thought the goal here is to pick conference champs, right, guys? The sure thing bets, the ones that are, definitely going to win their conference. So I'm going with my most confident pick among any of basically the team that stands alone in their conference. I'm going with the Texas Longhorns with the third pick here.
So
this is not to make the playoff. This is not to, have style points or anything like that. This is to win their conference. I'm going Texas.
And Texas is only plus 110. So aside from Georgia, Vegas says they're the second most likely team to win their conference. So
I guess Texas is back, according to Nick. So
that's right. They definitely are. I don't need them all the way back. I just need them back enough in the Big 12.
All right.
You just need them a little bit back. All right. Fair enough. So you're back to back. So go ahead.
Back to back picks here, right? So this one's tough because as I think about Ryan, I think I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to pick FSU here. I'm going to look, not confident in FSU either, Tom. But with that said, I think they pose, it's basically at this point like a value pick, right? I think the drop off, you kind of look at the drop offs here in a draft like this. And I think that third tier and below ACC team has no shot this year. It's really a 2-horse race in the conference. I think FSU is going to give Clemson 1, maybe 2 really good games. The advantage Clemson in terms of the home field coming into that matchup at the end of September. But I think that Mike Norvell's definitely done right by the transfer portal and reloading on their team. And they also brought in some pretty strong recruiting classes here. So give me FSU with the 4th overall pick. I don't know that I love my team so far, but that's all right. Make Ryan sweat a little bit.
Well, I won't sweat. I'm going to wait until my last pick of the draft to pick an ACC team at this point. Yeah, Florida State is actually plus 160, whereas Clemson was plus 190 at the book I was looking at. So theoretically, you've got the favorite in the ACC. Some of these other North Carolina's plus 600, Louisville's plus 1,200. So might be a lost cause there. There's another conference where I think there's a big drop off though after the top 2, and that's the Big Ten. So I'll take the team that I think is going to win the Big Ten, and that's Michigan. So I'll take the Wolverines. They bring back their quarterback. Ohio State has to go there. Ohio State beat them 2 in a row. I think they're just as good of a bet as Clemson, really. So I'll take the Michigan Wolverines and pass it on to Tom.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely had them eking out Ohio State in the Big Ten, but I was really close between those two. So I will go with Ohio State to bounce back and get a double over Michigan this year.
All right, Tom, you've got the back-to-back this time.
So that is my Big Ten, my ACC. I will now go to the SEC. As hard as it is to see Georgia relinquishing it at this point, Alabama still got a bit of an aura about them. So I'm going to go ahead and take them with the 7th overall pick.
All right, Alabama, they are plus 200. And I actually think LSU could be arguably better than them, but they get everybody at home. They get Tennessee at home. They get LSU at home. They even get Texas at home, which doesn't matter for the.
I'm not buying any of the SU abbreviation schools. I'm not buying LSU. I'm not buying FSU. So just
anti-state university. I like it. Except for Ohio State, right?
Well, we call them Ohio State. We really call them OSU, not as common.
That's true. That's true. Okay. So I'm looking at no one's taken a Pac-12 school, so I could reach there. Southern Cal's plus 200. But I have this weird feeling that the top 3 teams, really the top 4 in the Pac-12 are all the same. So I kind of don't care. I'll just take who you leave me. And I just got this feeling that Oklahoma's bouncing back. I think they might take the conference. I'd be tempted to pick them straight up if it wasn't a draft. There's no point in me taking an ACC team. So I'm going with Oklahoma, and I'm feeling like I have a good shot to get a point in the Big 12. So give me Oklahoma. They're plus 300. I think they really could win the conference. So we're back to Nick for back-to-back picks here.
Cool. Interesting draws here from you guys. The OU pick, could work out, Ryan. I think it's going to be interesting to see now that Brent Venables is starting to get a little more solidified in the head coaching role. He clearly had a learning curve last year, lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal and wasn't able to reload last year. So, I think OU could definitely bounce back. I think Red River is going to be a big one for that Big 12 race. But watch out for K-State. They could sneak up and grab either of the top 2 teams in that conference. So,
they're defending champs. It's not sneaking.
Right. No, it's a good point. I mean, really, it should have been TCU, but that is what it is there. I think I'm going to go out to the Pac-12. I mean, this is one where I agree with you there. It's sort of a logjam there at the top. I think there's going to be a lot of cannibalization in that conference. I will go with the favorite team here, though, USC, the USC, Southern Cal. I think they clearly know what their big deficiency has been on that team. It's defense, primarily tackling the open field. I don't know. I haven't studied guys in terms of their recruiting and their transfer portal takes, but I think when you're exposed that much on that type of a stage, it's something you can work on as a program and as a team. And I just think they're going to be that much more explosive this year. I think they're going to take care of business in the Pac-12. Give me USC with I guess this would be my 3rd pick. And then I'm going to go with LSU. The Bayou Bengals, not a favorite of Clemson fans, I guess, picking LSU, picking Brian Kelly. I think they're a little bit overhyped personally, but I like them as the third most likely team out of the SEC to win it. So give me LSU there. There's some other sneaky picks in the SEC, so I'm going to be curious to see who takes. Actually, already Bama and UGA are off board. So
Yep.
I avoided taking Tennessee. I think Kentucky could be a sneaky pick to mess things up. But really, it's Georgia's to lose. So I think Ryan might take up the point in the SEC.
Yeah, and that's the right call. When I was kind of mapping this out in prep, I thought about Tennessee. I like Tennessee this year. I think they should be a top 10 team. They deserve to be. But they're in the East with Georgia. They're going to have to basically beat Georgia in the regular season to get a shot at it. LSU has to go through Bama. They beat Bama last year. Feels more realistic. So good pick there. All right, so I need an ACC team and a Pac-12 team, but no one else is going to take an ACC team. So I'll look to the Pac-12. I agree that that Southern Cal is the favorite for a reason. You know, if I could pick all favorites, I'd pick them. But I love Washington this year. I think they've got a great shot. I like them more than Oregon, and I like them even more than two-time defending champion Utah. They've got an excellent quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. I think, I'm over here on the East Coast, and I don't claim to avoid West Coast bias, but I think they are a victim of it. I think they're an awesome team. I'd have them ranked in the top 10. I really like Washington this year. They've got a tough schedule. I don't think they're going to get me any tiebreaker points making the playoff, but I think they have a real shot to win the Pac-12. All right, Tom.
Yeah, so Ryan, real quick, I released an informal poll on the Clemson podcast Twitter earlier today, putting a few of these sort of like bubble teams, if you will, to win the conference out there. LSU, Washington, Penn State, or K-State. Washington with over 50% of the votes among those four hopefuls. So
one of those votes was mine. I was going there either way, but I did see the poll.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
All right,
Tom, take us home.
Close it out. You've got the Big 12 and you've got the Pac-12 to finish it off.
Yep. So one of those votes on the poll for Washington was also mine. So I was very much going to take them, but I had a feeling Ryan would beat me to it, which is really sad because I did live in Seattle for a couple of years, so they always hold a soft spot in my heart. Probably would have gone there if I had never moved, but alas. So Washington off the board. This is a team, we're going out of the Pac-12, going to the Big 12. We mentioned them earlier. They are the defending champion, yet somehow they stay under the radar, especially with the way the playoffs shook out last year with TCU losing that title game and getting into the playoff anyway. I'm going to go with K-State in the Big 12. They're never flashy, and obviously they lost Deuce Vaughn, they lost some other pieces, but they're just always a solid, fundamentally sound team, and could easily see them make another run in the Big 12.
Yeah, Kansas State plus 500, second toughest, or I don't know if toughest is the word, but least likely to win their conference of all the picks so far. LSU is plus 525. So these are the last picks for a reason. We all have one pick left, Tom. I'll turn it over to you for your final pick.
Final pick. Let's get real spicy. They were ranked in the AP poll. I'm going to go Oregon State out of the Pac-12.
Wow. All
really
right.
like
DJU. DJU.
Yeah, DJU. Maybe he can thrive when he's not, maybe under as much the spotlight as much. He's away from Brandon Streeter now, who I'm still convinced completely ruined him. Probably some weaker competition too, if being honest. I know everyone, likes to give the ACC a hard time, but I think it's probably a better competition than the Pac-12 overall. Probably close, but so give me a reason to root for DJU. Oregon State, I've always liked them. So, and this seems like they're probably the best team they've had, at least going into a season on paper, in a long time. So that rounds it out for me.
Okay. So that's exactly why I waited till my second to last pick on the Pac-12, because, Utah is the defending champ, and then Oregon is by the odds second above Washington. So really a muddled mess there after USC. All right, so I've got one pick left. I've got to go to the ACC. The odds makers say take UNC. I don't know that, Nick, to your point, I don't know anyone's really got a great shot of jumping both Clemson and Florida State. But if I'm going to take a flyer, it's not UNC. It's Louisville. Louisville doesn't play Clemson, doesn't play Florida State. I could see a scenario where, let's say Clemson beats Florida State loses at Pittsburgh. They might be 10-2, but with those two losses, maybe Louisville loses to, let's say, Notre Dame. They lose to Kentucky. Those aren't conference games. They drop some random game, but they have a better ACC record than Florida State. They sneak in. And then I still don't think they beat Clemson in that scenario, but they've got a puncher's chance. I don't really see anyone else getting in. The other team, if you want to be sneaky, Pittsburgh, they could beat Florida State and sneak their way in. Could have gone either way. I like them both more than North Carolina. But I'm gonna go Louisville. That'll be my bold pick here. And you can take us home, Nick. You've got a Big Ten team to finish this off.
Yeah. Not going Penn State. They're probably the third best team in the conference, but I got to play the odds here of being able to get into the title game. You got to be in the title game to win the conference. So I'm going with Wisconsin out of the West. Luke Fickell, first-year head coach. They're going to have a new offensive system there. Graham Mertz is gone. People might remember him. He had one good game against Illinois. Pretty much sucked other than that. But really the key factor here is our guy, Trez Malusi, suiting up for the Badgers, former Clemson running back. Got to roll with Trez and the Badgers with my pick.
So same strategy that I took there is Louisville has a better path. Wisconsin just needs to pull that one big upset. All right. Tell me if I got this right. I'm pulling them all together here. So I have Clemson. Tom has Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Kansas State, and Oregon State. Tom, tell me if that's right, but also kind of your thoughts on how the draft went for you.
That's definitely right. Again, this is why we did the draft this way. These aren't the 5 teams I would pick, if I had them all available, right? Clemson I would pick. That's why I took them number 1. But I would have taken Georgia. I would have probably taken Michigan, although I wasn't very close on that. K-State, Oregon State, I like those teams. I wouldn't have taken as much. I would have taken Texas out of the Big 12 just by default. Like,
you always love Texas, don't you?
I don't even, but like to Nick's point, like they are probably the best team in that conference. And then I would have taken Washington out of the Pac-12. Those would have been my 5 without the draft restrictions. But Oregon State's going to be fun to root for. I always had a soft spot for them. K-State, I'm not too upset with that pick either. I know their odds are not great, but they're always kind of in the mix when you don't expect it. So.
All right, Nick, I have you with Florida State, LSU, Wisconsin, Texas, and USC. Your thoughts on how the draft went for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a smorgasbord here of who I would think would be, kind of clear favorites, betting favorites in their conferences with Texas, USC. Then I think I have a couple of teams, Florida State being one of them, maybe LSU, depending what you think, that do have a puncher's chance. They're going to have to obviously take care of business against, the established powers in their conference to do it. But they definitely have the talent and potentially the coaching experience to get there. And then I got one flyer team in Wisconsin that I can kind of root for all season as an underdog to try to get in there. So, decent, probably stretched a little bit early on with Florida State. Could have had Michigan or Ohio State potentially in the Big Ten, but I was afraid of that drop off in the ACC there. So I'm overall content.
Yeah, you probably feel better about Wisconsin than I do about Louisville. So I've got Louisville in the ACC, which is probably, statistically, according to the odds, by far the weakest pick of this draft. But after that, I've got Georgia, the defending champs. I got Michigan, playoff team, defending conference champs. I got Oklahoma, who's won that conference a million times, and I've got Washington, who returns Heisman front runner or candidate hopeful at quarterback. So aside from Louisville, those aren't too far off from my picks. I don't know if I'd have the gall to pick Oklahoma or Washington, but I was kind of borderline on them anyway. So, Louisville's probably not winning the conference, but I could hit on 4 of these. So I like that I have 4 shots. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, guys?
Yeah, I think the winner of this is going to be looking at trying to get 3, right? You got to get the majority to win. If you're content if you have 3, maybe there's only 5 conferences, right? So Ryan, you may have the easiest shot at 3. Like you just said, you have 4 kind of hopeful teams here. What's going to be interesting though is if all of us are if a couple of us have 2, and then we're getting into the zone where it's tiebreaker mode. Which Ryan, I guess we would determine that based on the most number of CFP teams.
That's right. Yeah, I don't feel like I have a good shot there. I gotta win it in the the regular season or before that, or I'm probably toast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, this was a lot of fun. I hope people enjoy it. Tom, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, the only thing was looking at my list, those first 3 names are like huge brands, like big names, and it's a pretty stark drop off at the last 2 if you go down my column. So should be fun.
Well, college football, there's always surprises. So, that's why we play the games. That's why it's our favorite sport. It's so exciting. So this is a unique way to think about it, Ryan. Thanks for putting it together. And, should be a really fun season. We're almost there.
Yeah, here's that list one last time. And as you look at that, just a reminder, folks, if you're already subscribed to this channel, I thank you for that. I appreciate it. If not, please do subscribe. I've got some more videos coming out. I'm going to put my picks for every single game on Clemson's schedule, and a couple more videos, and we'll start previewing the Duke game, and we'll preview and recap every game. Hey, also, if you're not already on your podcast app, be sure to follow the Clemson podcast, where you can find Nick Tully. And now to outro us, here is Tom Dianora's wicked guitar riff. So thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it.